All right, y'all. So, one of my favorite things is when people on the far right just admit the shit that was a criticism of them from the left. See, oftentimes if somebody on the left makes criticism of somebody on the far right, they'll say, "Oh no, you're straw manning. That's hyperbole. That's not true." But then every now and then they just let the mask slip and they're like, "Oh no, it was true all along." Well, here's a great example of it. Marjorie Taylor Greene declares the Republican Party should be the party of Christian nationalism. Okay. So let's see her exact wording here. This is at Turning Point USA conference.
Now, if the Republican Party becomes the party that actually does the things we say we're about, then we are going to be a party for nationalism. Isn't that right? But then I think there's another element we need to have, and I'm a Christian. How many Christians do we have here? So you see, I also call myself a Christian nationalist, and that's not a bad word. That's actually a good thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with leading with your faith, because we should lead with our faith. Because if we're
I wonder if she'd say that if it was a fundamentalist Muslim who was running the government. Does she say that about the Taliban? They lead with their faith. Is that a good thing?
doing that, then we're doing the right thing. It doesn't mean we're perfect. It just means we're doing the right thing. And I think that's what the Republican Party needs to be about.
I honestly think she's too dumb to even realize the negative connotation associated with Christian nationalism. I think she's too stupid to realize it. This idea of, like, you know, theocracy being a good thing, as if we don't have just endless mountains of evidence proving the exact opposite is true. But who knows? Maybe she supports stuff like the Crusades and the Inquisition. But look, take what she says at face value here. And my response to it is, you're wrong, but fair enough. But there's two things I need from you. Number one, never suck off the founders ever again, like Republicans like to do. And number two, never talk about how you love freedom and liberty again. Now, if you want to say I'm a Christian nationalist and also agree to those terms, fine. But you cannot say I'm a Christian nationalist and then also pretend like you're all for the founders and the founders were geniuses and they got everything right. And you definitely can't say I'm a Christian nationalist, but also I support freedom and liberty, because those are diametrically opposed. There is a massive contradiction at the heart of that. It's one or the other. You have to pick one. Either you support freedom and liberty or you support Christian nationalism. There are no two ways about it. So just to go back to the founders' point for a second here, not that you guys need this lesson. You guys have understand this through and through 1,000 times over. But let's look at First Amendment and religion. The First Amendment has two provisions concerning religion, the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. The Establishment Clause prohibits the government from establishing a religion. The precise definition of establishment is unclear. Historically, it meant prohibiting state-sponsored churches, such as the Church of England. So we can't have, like, the Church of the United States of America. We can't have a state-sponsored, government-sponsored, taxpayer-funded church here. Today, what constitutes an establishment of religion is often governed under the three-part test set forth by the U.S. Supreme Court in Lemon versus Kurtzman. Now, I will put a little asterisk here because the Supreme Court just took a hatchet to the Lemon test. So the modern interpretation is a lot more theocratic than it was, but this was case law for decades and decades in the United States. Let me read it for you. Under the Lemon test, government can assist religion only if, number one, the primary purpose of the assistance is secular. Number two, the assistance must neither promote nor inhibit religion. And number three, there is no excessive entanglement between church and state. So let me put that in my own words for you guys. The government needs to be ruthlessly neutral on issues of religion. So in other words, the government cannot mandate that Bob and Susan down the street, you can't be Christian, you can't be Muslim. We're going to, like, almost like a state-enforced atheism, we're going to put that on you. They can't do that because that's inhibiting religion, but they also can't promote religion because the government it's supposed to represent the public, and the public has a variety of views on the topic of religion and God. And so it's just supposed to be ruthlessly neutral on the issue. This is what the founders believed. Now, look, I'm not one to deify the founders. I think they got some things right and some things wrong, but this is the probably one of the best, if not the best, parts of what they did. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Just like freedom of speech and freedom to protest, that brilliant. This is the best. And so now Marjorie Taylor Greene, pretends like the founders are right about everything. The Democrats are against the founders. No, you are against the best parts of the founders. So just understand what she means, though, when she says she wants to be a Christian nationalist. It's her specific interpretation of her specific religion, of which there are over 4,000 of them in the world. She wants to force that on everybody else in the country. And how that manifests is in stuff like what we're seeing with Roe versus Wade being overturned, where all the red states are getting together and they're going, let's just crack down on this as aggressively as possible and be as repressive as possible. And so now you see laws where they say, you know what? No exception for the life of the mother. What? No exception for the life of the mother. You can't get an abortion even if you might die if you carry the pregnancy to term. Think about how insane that is. Think about how extreme that is. And her interpretation of her religion, which, by the way, is a wrong interpretation of the text of that religion, but she says that's what I mean when I say Christian nationalist. That's what I believe. Try to prosecute women who go across state lines to get an abortion. Deeply, deeply anti-freedom. She believes stuff like that. And she believes it in the name of her religion. Again, even though in the Bible, they're not so-called pro-life, they're pro-choice. They prescribe abortion if your wife cheats on you. So, anyway, goddamn. Hey, props for honesty, right? Props for honesty. Because a lot of them try to mask it and hide it, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is not doing that here. And I'm sure she was with those 157 Republicans who just voted against gay marriage. Again, I don't want to hear a single word about how you support freedom and liberty. That is deeply anti-freedom and deeply anti-liberty. I'm sure she was with the 195 who voted against the right to contraception. Don't talk to me about freedom and liberty. Don't talk to me about that, and don't talk to me about the founders. As long as you agree to those two terms, I'm not going to pretend to love the founders, and I'm not going to pretend to be pro-freedom. By all means, let that freak flag fly. Tell everybody you believe in Christian theocracy and Christian nationalism. And by the way, just so everybody understands, the reason why this is actually a good thing she's saying this is because this stuff is not popular. They're preaching to a smaller and smaller portion of a rabid activist extremist base. And that does have consequences. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.